You're listening to Amplified, the Chesapeake Public Schools podcast, your front row seat to the stories behind our story.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Amplified. I'm Jay Luter here with
Matt Graham.
And Matt, I am so excited about today's episode. We are so fortunate to have our superintendent right on the brink of retirement, Dr. Jared Cotton, to spend a few minutes with us and reflect on his life and legacy with Chesapeake Public Schools.
It's nice to have that chance to sit down with him so that he can not just share with us, but with the community about his time here.
Yeah, and I can't wait for our listeners to be a part.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and start the conversation.
Let's do it.
Dr. Cotton, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, happy to be here. I started here this year, and I get to finish this year. So
That's right.
Is this
That's
the last
exactly
one
right.
of the school year?
This is it. This is the last one.
Perfect.
That's right.
What an honor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's your podcast, basically. So, I mean,
It's our honor, Dr. Cotton.
Yeah. So, but before we chat and reflect about your upcoming retirement and legacy here with Chesapeake Public Schools, has the moment really set in yet?
Well, it's going to have to, right? Because the
That's
time is growing short. So I have to tell you, right after winter break, it seems like it accelerated. So it got closer and closer and closer. And I've had a hard time thinking too much about it because there's so much to do each and every day. So it's hard to say it's going to be here, but it feels like it's fast approaching as we are. What are we? Almost the middle of June now.
That's
So
right.
it's getting very close. So what I've been thinking a lot about is what am I going to do that very first day, where I don't have all the emails coming in and all the phone calls coming in. And so I don't have a plan yet, but I'm working on it because I know I need to be busy that day.
Yeah, that's true. That first day of school when you're not in that seat, I'm sure is going to be a little melancholy, right?
Maybe enjoy a nice cup of coffee and play some pickleball or tennis.
Of course. Well, that happened when I came to central office. that first day of school felt very different because I was not in a school. But this will be even more different because I won't be anywhere.
That's true.
I'll be at home. I won't have to go anywhere. But the best part is when my alarm goes off, I get to ignore it. So you guys are going to be at work.
That's right. We will.
That's right.
We sure will. Dr. Cotton, when you returned to Chesapeake Schools in 2018, you told us about your 2-word mission statement, Inspire Hope. What do you think gave you the most hope in 2018? What were you the most excited about in your return to Chesapeake?
Wow, I was just excited about coming home. Sometimes you can't come home, but I was laughing. I was telling people I left and went to other places. I lost my way, and then I found my way back home. So it was just nice to come back home. This is my hometown. This is where I grew up. I know you all have heard that story many times. When I got here in 5th grade, I started at Crestwood Elementary at the time. I know it's back to elementary now, but it was different grade levels there. But I started in 5th grade at Crestwood, went all the way up through Great Bridge High School, graduated as a Wildcat here in Chesapeake, and then started my career here. So the fact that I was able to come back home and give back to the community where I grew up and the community that helped support and nurture me was extremely exciting. And I didn't know I would get to come back, when I left to have different experiences. And I still remember when I talked to Dr. Nichols, who was a superintendent at the time.
Sure.
I was the director of assessment and accountability. And I said, Dr. Nick, do you think I can come back? And he said, probably not. and you gotta know Dr. Nick to know what a great mentor and guide for me. Just learning from him.
Sure.
Even after I left, he continued to be a mentor for me. So I really didn't know I'd get a chance to come back, but the fact that I was fortunate to come back and serve my hometown was incredible.
Yeah. And looking back at 2018, is there any advice that you would give yourself today, all these years later, any advice you would give your 2018 version of you?
Stay strong, stay the course. Right. I know we'll probably get into this and into some of our conversation today, but good grief, we did not know what was coming in 2020, right? So, so stay strong and stay resilient. Also, stay the course because we've been through a lot over the last 8 years. But I also remember that my first week of school, we had the hurricane threat. I don't know if y'all remember this. We had mandatory evacuations for Zone A, where everybody had to leave. And a lot of our schools were in Zone A. And of course, I personally lived in Zone A. So we were all having to evacuate, and we had to close school. And I had to announce that at a board meeting. And it was 4 of the most beautiful days we've ever seen. But you don't know when you get that report. And that just set the tone for what I had in store at the beginning of my tenure. But we've had, as you know, you have ups and downs. You have times where everything's going great and times when you're challenged, and no one could have predicted what was going to happen in spring of 2020.
Yeah. So when you were coming in, you were going to bring some initiatives with you, right? What were maybe some of those that took hold rather quickly and easy? And maybe what were some that maybe took a while to get through?
Well, one of the things I've learned about leadership is you always want to take your time with changing things too quickly. And that's why I always tell our principals when they go to new schools, sometimes you can't go in there and change everything. You have to be very thoughtful about changes before you bring them forward. I've always told people that small changes sometimes you need to make, but other things you need to watch and kind of learn more about as you get started. But I knew right away we needed some work in technology. When I started visiting schools, literally the students would turn around and look at me when they're on their Chromebook because the internet was so slow, and they would look at me and say, "What are you going to do about this?" and that's one of the moments where you say, well, gosh, somebody needs to fix this. And you realize you're the somebody who needs to get it fixed. So I knew that we had a lot of work to do in technology. And it's not because we weren't trying to develop the technology or that we weren't working on it. We just didn't have the funds. We were coming out of a recession where we didn't have the resources to update and do the things we needed to do. So I knew that was something that needed work moving forward. I also knew I wanted to expand and grow career and technical education, which is something that started slowly. But what I noticed is the business community really took hold of that, as well as economic development, as well as our community leaders. And we got a lot of excitement around that. So that's one area that really started moving quickly based on support in our community. And I'm proud of all that we've done in that area in particular.
Yeah, it's grown tremendously. With the college and career readiness, the CCC programs, everything. So,
And what's interesting is when I had my first State of the Schools, which was not my favorite because it was not the most entertaining, in my opinion, because I was doing a lot of reading and a lot of talking. And I was talking about my 2 children and how they took different paths. One went career and tech education, one went college. And we talked about how important career and technical education is and how the opportunities are vast and that we all grew up with college being a non-negotiable. But what I've learned is going directly to work can be a great career for a student, and then let those employers let the employer pay for your college and move forward. So I talked about that at my first State of the Schools, and 8 years later, I still have people who tell me they remember me saying that, and they hadn't heard a superintendent talk about workforce and career and technical education as a viable option. But I do think that that's something that has really taken hold over the last several years.
Yeah. For sure. Very impactful. Dr. Cotton, every superintendent faces a defining challenge. Here it comes. This is the question you were waiting for, right? So I think I know the answer, but I'd love to hear it from your perspective. What was your defining challenge, and how did it shape you in Chesapeake Public Schools?
Well, I knew we were going to get there, but COVID, and as much as I hate to talk about it now, we really got hit that spring with something frightening at the time. We didn't know what was going on when the schools closed. And I still remember when the governor made the announcement that schools were closed.
Sure.
And it was supposed to be a 2-week closure.
Right.
And then before that 2 weeks were up, it was announced we were closed for the rest of the school year. And we just weren't ready for that for a lot of reasons, because we didn't have the one-to-one technology. Not all of our families had access to internet. And so we were just scrambling to make sure our students had what they needed to continue to learn. And not only that, basic needs. We had to make sure our students had food and resources, and we had to rally our community partners and our churches to help. So that period of time was a whirlwind, and we had no idea what to expect or what was going to happen next. And everyone was making decisions about how they're going to tackle it, and then they change their mind, and then we'd shift gears, and that's when we learned that word pivot, right? We were pivoting constantly.
We did.
Which is a word I don't like to use anymore. And then the other thing that happened was we had bus drivers and school nutrition workers, custodians. They couldn't come to work, and then they needed to get paid. And then on top of that, we lost about $10 million in funding almost overnight. So I had to figure out how do we pay our employees and keep them on the payroll. So literally what happened was every morning, my cabinet, my leadership team, we were on at 9:00 every morning. And I was constantly trying to figure out how we were going to handle all of these challenges. And then at the same time, I was weekly on calls with the city partners, our emergency management, trying to figure out how we're going to navigate through all of that. But I would say not only was that a defining moment for us, but the next fall where we were trying to figure out what are we going to do, we came together with leaders across the district and we said, what is our mission? What's our core mission? We're here to educate children of our community. That's our mission. And we're off mission if we're not bringing our kids back to school.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I always tell people that we brought back our most vulnerable, our youngest learners, our students with special needs, our preschool students, our English language learners. We started bringing them back first, and we brought them back in waves. I mean, it was difficult because we had masks and shields, and we couldn't hardly hear each other, but we knew that we had to bring our students back to school, and we brought our teachers back to school. And even though they were teaching virtually, they were teaching from their classroom because we knew if the teachers didn't come back, the students would never come back.
Right.
So we made some tough decisions that weren't popular during that time. And I finally got to the point where if 50% of the people were okay with what we were doing, we're probably doing pretty good. Yeah. But it seemed to be 50% were against us, 50% were for us. And of course, you remember that time the board meetings were very long.
Yes, they were.
With lots of feedback. But in the end, I would say it really showed our resilience from our leaders, from our staff, from our students, because the way that we were able to navigate through that. And I think it put us in a better place. It really set us apart in that we were leading on purpose. Right. And that's what I'm really proud of when I look back. I'm also glad it's over.
For sure.
But I also learned that I'm much more resilient than I thought I was. And Jay, you were a principal then. So
yeah, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Dr. Cotton, because I think during that time we established the phrase, what is it, building the plane while it's in the air, right? That was a big sort of another expression, just like pivot was a big expression during that time. But Dr. Cotton it gives me an opportunity to give you some praise, because I really feel like as a principal during those days, I feel like our return to school was very strategic and very intentional. And I think that school leaders and teachers and our community saw that and felt that and appreciated the thoughtful return to school that you and the team put together during that time.
Yeah. And I appreciate our, our health director, Nancy Welch. Dr. Welch was an amazing partner during that time as well, because we partnered and really worked together. I remember going to visit schools with her to measure how far apart the desks were.
I still have tape measures in my desk drawer for just that reason.
In the classroom. And I said, I need to bring them back. Can what if we did this? What if we do that? And the fact that we have partners who are open with the mindset, we need to bring our students back, not we need to shut everything down. We need to get back. And having partners who have that same philosophy really paid off. And I could go on and on about, those phone calls. They still tease me about the phone calls, because we would get on the calls with the city and I would start telling them some of the challenges I'm dealing with. And they would all say, after listening to me, they all felt better because they weren't dealing with anywhere near what I was dealing with.
Wow.
But you were a teacher then.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You were at Great Bridge Middle School, Matt, and I remember that's when you started your podcast over there.
Yeah.
So I know you were working
We
with
were in the thick
directly.
of it. Yeah. And we were literally doing the piloting of going one-to-one, where you were talking about your initiatives, and we were on that track. And the day that we were piloting one-to-one, the next day we shut down. I was like, we did all this work and we're out.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was trying to implement one-to-one technology, and I was taking early adopters schools, and Great Bridge Middle was a school that was ready to move forward. Right. we had a 5-year plan, and I always say it turned into a 3-month plan.
It really did. We became one-to-one overnight almost.
We became overnight. We became one-to-one in but 3 months. But anyway, I would say that you probably knew we were going to go there. That was probably a defining moment, not just for me, but for our school district.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Cotton, that is definitely a defining moment. I believe we can all agree on that, but we're going to change it up here a little bit. We're going to bring back some positive vibes here in the studio. I want to know, is there a moment or two that when you're looking back at your time here with Chesapeake that makes you smile, that makes you laugh, or even a chuckle here or there?
Well, there's so many funny things that have happened over the years, but I have to tell you, the thing that makes me smile is last June, I had the opportunity to speak at Crestwood Intermediate for their last 5th grade class that was moving up to middle school,
Sure.
but also the last class to graduate or move on from the old Crestwood Intermediate, because the next year they're moving into their brand new one. So they invited me to be their keynote speaker at their moving up ceremony. I keep calling it a moving up ceremony. It's not a graduation really, but it's a moving up ceremony, which is what they call it. So just a full circle moment for me. I mean, I was a student there in 5th and 6th grade. I was a teacher there in 5th grade. So literally I had my 5th graders in that very same auditorium in that program. And of course, what makes me chuckle, I guess you'd say, is the number of performances that we did for the students. I remember one year I was Elvis, which I hope I hope we never find those pictures.
Oh,
It's got to be out there somewhere.
Oh, we're going to hunt that down.
And so we did silly things for kids because you just really wanted to show them how much you cared about them. And it's so funny when I see students now, they remind me of those things when I was Elvis. And then one time I remember we were dancing up there doing something, but then also having the chance just to come back after teaching there and being a student there. And then they've invited me back this year in the brand new school. They've asked me if I want the honor to speak to the 5th grade class. That's the first class in the brand new Crestwood Elementary. So that makes me smile just thinking how interesting life is, because I know I've told you the story that my first teaching assignment was in the same classroom where I was a 5th grade student.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it was a full circle moment for me. And one of my colleagues is still teaching there, and she's been there for 30 plus years. So she remembers all the silly things that we did for kids. But that does make me smile when I think about that.
Well, speaking of silly things, Dr. Cotton, we're going to ask for some secret knowledge now, okay? Is there a secret perk of the job of being the superintendent for Chesapeake Public Schools that you're going to miss that people might not know about?
Well, when I was a principal, I used to say that you get a parking space and you can use the copy machine whenever you want.
That's right.
There you go.
Very nice.
So those are two things. But as a superintendent, I really use the copy machine these days. And you all know I don't carry a lot of paper around with me. I like to have everything digital, but I'd still have a parking space. And I have to admit that when I first came back as superintendent, I didn't have a designated parking space in the old building. The superintendent used to park in the back alley, which
in the back alley.
of
Make
the
a
old,
quick exit some days. Is that what that was for?
Of the old building, but then they realized that it probably wasn't a good idea because you get stuck back there.
Yeah.
But what I learned very quickly is I like to visit schools quite a bit, and with the parking situation in our old building, I never had a place to park when I came back. So I finally said, look, I need a parking space in the back. So it's always nice to have a parking space. And I have one here, which is good. So I guess that's a perk. And in this building in particular, I guess a perk would be I get to be the taste tester for all the food the students
there you go.
Cook in the
That's
cafeteria.
a great perk.
That is a good perk. And
Because
they do a great job,
Yeah,
too.
because I feel like it's, making sure that quality control.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Making
absolutely.
sure
100%.
Nothing goes out unless Dr. Cotton likes it.
Yeah, but along that same side, but maybe a little bit of seriousness. What's something that you're going to miss the most? But what's something that you won't miss?
Well, I'm going to miss the people and of course the students. I've talked to a lot of my colleagues who've retired and they will tell me they don't always miss some of the day-to-day work, but they really miss the people and the
Sure.
team.
Yeah.
I have an incredible leadership team, and I have incredible staff, like the two of you.
Thank you.
I'll say that since you're sitting here.
Thanks, appreciate it.
But I've really enjoyed building those relationships and working together. But I also really enjoy being around the students. And I have to tell you that whenever I have a rough day, my secretary will say, we need to get some school visits in for you. And I'll go visit schools and I'll go read, because I get invited to read in schools and go to schools to visit. And whenever I can, I always go, and sometimes people say, why you don't have to say yes to all of those, but I do, because I love to be in schools, and that's why we got into this business. So I'll miss all of those things, but the things I won't miss the weather calls,
The early mornings with the closures.
I won't miss getting up at 4 a.m. and staying up late and constantly checking the roads and checking the apps and worrying about weather and stressing over making the right decision. That's probably what I'm looking forward to, enjoying snow again, because I have to admit I have not enjoyed snow for the last 15 years as a superintendent, but I am looking forward to building a snowman and enjoying snow and let someone else worry about a snow day.
So all your time at TCC and the George Washington University and ODU, there was never a meteorology class? Is that what you're telling us?
No. And actually, it's funny because I originally was studying oceanography and marine biology. But that's one of the reasons why I loved going into teaching, because I felt like I could learn about everything and teach about everything. When I taught fifth grade, you were an elementary teacher. I got to teach about everything. Because I couldn't narrow down what I was most interested in. I was interested in so many different things. But yeah, unfortunately, weather calls are never as accurate as you would like them to be.
Certainly something you'll never miss.
And we always get blamed. So regardless of what decision you make, there's always a group that doesn't agree with it, and they tell you about it. but you just have to make the best decision you can with the information you have, and that's what I tell people.
Right. Now, at the recent retirement ceremony, and actually at every retirement ceremony that you've been a part of, you always say this line: if in a few months or even a few years, you realize that retirement just isn't right for you,
oh, the tables are turning.
That will always welcome you back.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Cotton, what's your thoughts on that statement now that you're here with us?
That hit a little different this year, for sure. They were funny when I was working on my comments for the retirement ceremony. They said, do you want to say this again?
That's right.
But I have to tell you, certainly I don't plan to come back in any way or shape or form. But so many of our retirees, they do come back and work part-time or provide assistance. And just to tell you a funny story, and I don't know if you guys realize this, but at my retirement celebration, my sixth grade teacher showed up.
I had no idea.
My sixth grade teacher from Crestwood Elementary, Jeanette Schuler, showed up to wish me congratulations. And I also have to tell you, when I came back to Chesapeake, she was at Indian River High School when she retired. She retired from Indian River High School drama. She actually taught Jay Farrow, was in her class at Indian River High. So she came up behind me and calling my name, and I right away recognized her voice and I realized it. But the reason I share that story is not only was that incredible that she was there, and then she even sent me a follow-up card, but she retired a few years ago. And she called me a couple months later and she said, I need to get back to work. Do you have a job for me? And I said, I'm so glad you called. I said, we always need good people to sub. And when I saw her the other night, she told me she's still subbing for us.
Wow.
So,
that's great. That
is
so
awesome.
they're, and we have so many stories of amazing people who've retired, and there's a part-time opportunity or a chance for them to come back and help in a certain way. And we love to bring them back on a part-time schedule, and whether they're coaching new principals or coaching new leaders, we have some of that happening, or if they're working as a substitute. We also have teachers who come back. And now with the teacher shortage the way that it is, they can come back and get a full salary plus their retirement benefits. So there are some great perks to that. So that's why I always do the advertisement to make sure we'll welcome them back. And when we have someone come back, because they like to be a part of Chesapeake Public Schools, and it's hard to walk away from that. I think the new superintendent would have a problem with me coming back. so I think I need to keep but I'm gonna enjoy watching from afar. Is what I'm looking forward to.
I think that teaching is a career that becomes part of your identity, right? It's something that's, it's in your heart, and it's hard to let it go. And speaking of that, Dr. Cotton, retirement gives us a chance to think about legacy, doesn't it? That's a big word. It's a powerful word, but it's important. What do you think you'll be most proud of leaving behind from your time in Chesapeake Schools?
Well, there's so many things I think that, and again, they get attached to me, and I've told the leaders all the time, I say I get all the attention. I'm not doing all the work. So the people who are doing the work are still here doing the work when long after I'm gone. So I do like to make sure I remind people of that, with all the accolades and wonderful things that have happened over the last few months, which I've very much appreciated. It's important to remind everyone that the people doing the work are still here. They're not going anywhere. But I think that we've done such great work with student-centered learning, focusing on creating opportunities for students, especially through career and technical education. I think that I spent the last 8 years pushing for a new building for the career and technical education program. And we have our career academies of Chesapeake that we've been really working on. And the good news is we have a plan. We have funding secured. It's going to move forward. Unfortunately, it will happen after my departure, but it has taken the full period of time that I've been here to get to this point. So I think that I hope that will be a part of my legacy, if you will, that we expanded opportunities for our students, not just in career and technical education. We've also moved forward with lots of other pathways for students, because what we need to understand is not every student fits in a certain mold when it comes to schooling. For example, the CVA program, the virtual academy that we put in place, some of the academy programs that we've enhanced. We have a new academy program that's moving forward for Indian River High School that we're working on entrepreneurship. I'm so proud of the lab school / academy at Oscar Smith Middle School. That was something that we've been really working on for a long time. So I hope that my legacy is just creating opportunities and pathways for students to explore different career opportunities, trades, or other passions that they want to pursue.
Yeah, and I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will.
And I want to also tell this to you as well as an employee. I mean, we're talking about this school and the students, but there's also our employees, and you've done a lot in your time to help support us. I mean, the amount of benefits and things that we have now today is much more than what it was when I was first hired. So there's a lot of support systems that are in place for our employees through your time here that has been very nice to be a part of and know that we're being felt valued.
Well, that means a lot, and I appreciate that. We have done some raises over the years that I'm proud of, and not just for one group. It's been for many different groups that we've tried to address. And that warms my heart when I go visit a school and a custodian comes up to me and says, "Thank you for all you've done for our salaries and benefits." And I've had nurses come up to me and thank me. And you forget that when you're running such a large organization like this, and we're a family, we talk about that all the time, which I'm so proud of, that we're a large organization, but we still have a family feel, and we care about each other, and we demonstrate that every day. But when I have people come up to me and thank me and notice that I've done something to make their life better or to make them proud to be a part of this great school division, that warms my heart, and it comes out of nowhere. And that's what I appreciate the most about it, is they have no reason to tell me that. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. They don't have to butter me up. I'm not going to be here much longer. But that means a lot. And just like now, I mean, what do you have to say? I'm gone in a few weeks. You don't have to deal with me anymore.
No. But seriously, that's been. I do feel like it's grown in that area tremendously as an employee. So, I mean, thank you for all that. But
I also say that I always tell people my superpower is hiring good people and letting them do their job. So,
right.
and I would say that about both of you.
Hey, well, thank you for that.
I take credit for both of you, and you're doing great work. So keep doing the great work after I'm gone.
Thanks, Dr. Cotton. We will. We'll help continue that legacy and keep moving it forward.
Yeah.
Matt's going to finish us up with one important question.
Oh, great.
Probably the most important question of all.
Okay.
So if you have one final message to the community, what would that message be?
Well, I would say just support the schools, continue to support the great work happening each and every day in our schools. One of the things that I've always known about Chesapeake and why Chesapeake has always felt like home to me is that when I came back, there were things that we needed to work on. Like I mentioned earlier, the technology, we have facilities challenges, we have lots of issues that we're dealing with. But everyone who talks about Chesapeake Public Schools, and again, long before my time here, they've always said, the school district is amazing. It's incredible. We want to live in Chesapeake because of the schools. And it's not because of the technology. It's not because of the buildings. It's not because of facility. It's because of the people. It's because of the people who work each and every day serving students and families because they love the work. It's in their DNA, as you said earlier, and it's so important to them. So I would say just continue to partner with the schools, support the schools, because I have to tell you, the people who work here each and every day are here because they care and they want to make a difference. And you can take away all that other stuff, all the shiny resources and technology and Chromebooks and whatever, fill in the blank. But what it comes down to is the people. And we've got such great people who work every day in Chesapeake. So I would just say support our schools. We're supporting our community. That would be what I want to say. And like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing where we go next.
Fantastic. Dr. Cotton, congratulations on your upcoming retirement. And thank you for finding some time to sit down with us for just a few minutes during this really, really busy season. It's so special to us to be able to chat with you and for our listeners to be able to hear a little bit about your time in Chesapeake schools. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you all, and I hope this is your most popular episode.
That's right. That's
It
right.
will be. So thank you so much, Dr. Cotton.
Everyone, we'll see you next time on Amplified.
We hope you enjoyed the stories behind our story on this episode of Amplified, the Chesapeake Public Schools podcast. Connect with us at cpschools.com/amplified and be sure to subscribe or follow us wherever you get your podcasts.